The following is a long, open-ended conversation with Haywood, an experienced business development professional, a data addict, and founder of Mersing. We got the opportunity to sit and discuss about many topics, like growing up in Breckenridge, Colorado, his journey in Japan, and even his passion about football, and why not to discuss the American dream in the imminent FIFA World Cup. This is On the Long with FVR podcast. If you like this thing, feel free to like and subscribe and to contribute to the channel in the description below. And now, your featured presentation. 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of On the Long with FVR. Today we have Haywood.
Hey,
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, buddy.
Oh yes. First and foremost, this is an unusual place because it doesn't look like the other previous buildings. This place is Bangkok, right?
Yes, yeah, this is Bangkok. Fortunately, we were able to find a nice lawn here for us to have our chat. This is right outside our hotel in FYI Center.
Yeah, that's right. The NY Center, which is kind of one of the nicest areas in Bangkok, close to the Queen City Queen Station, Convention Center. We happen to be right now sharing the Action Learning Project, which is one of the features that right now help us to learn by doing. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Is this your first time in Bangkok?
No, this is not. We also came here a few weeks ago for our Action Learning Project, but other than that, I came here once before for business. So, that time was like just a few days though. So this is definitely the longest that I've been in Bangkok, and it's been fun to get a chance to see more of the city and learn more about Thailand.
That's true. For me, it's my first time. Overall, well, if we account days, is going to be the second time because we came together because we are part of the same project, like in the month of October. But yes, learning new currency, new language, new little details in Southeast Asia, which is fantastic. But talking about Southeast Asia and Asia in general, when people see you, they will have a little hard time to find out that you actually had a store in Japan, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think probably one of the facts about me that is pretty hard to tell right off the bat is that I've spent already 12 years now in Asia. So about 10 of those were in Japan, and then the last 2 have been in Malaysia here at Asia School of Business.
Wow. So in Japan, that happens to be like kind of a very long and big country. Where in particular you were?
Yeah. I lived in Tokyo for most of that time. I also had a year in Osaka, so I've got to experience a couple different parts of Japan. And I've also been able to travel around the country to lots of different cities, Kobe, Nara, Hokkaido. Yeah, it's a great country, fun place to live. So I've been enjoying it. Yeah.
So, talking about Japan, what motivated you to go there to begin with? Because, every detail has a story.
Yeah. I think there's so many reasons, right, to pick up and move across the world. I think when I was younger, I was always kind of interested in foreign cultures and learning another language, and the opportunity to do that in Japan kind of presented itself while I was studying at university in the U.S. So I was studying there for about 2 years, and I started getting involved with the Japanese program, getting involved with the Japanese community there at that school, and I was having a great time. But unfortunately, that was also right around like the financial crisis, 2008, Lehman shock, right? And that program got cut. There were only a few people who were going to study that language at my school, and so it was cut out of the curriculum. And so then I decided to go to Japan. Seems like a good place to study Japanese. So.
Well, that's true. It's like if you really want to learn something, you have to go to where the core is.
Yep.
And that was the way to go. At the first time that you arrived in Japan, which city was?
Yeah, I went to Tokyo, but I was actually living on the outskirts of Tokyo in Kokubunji for the first 6 months there. So that was kind of interesting. It was an international dorm, and I was there. It was about a 45-minute commute to my school, so I got to see sort of the suburbs of Tokyo as well.
So when you say 45 minutes commuting, people may say, oh, they have to take the car or something to drive. But in Tokyo, you use
trains.
trains.
Yeah.
So how are the trains there?
I think it really depends on the train line. They're all great. They all are on time. They all run very, very quickly. You almost never have to look up when to get on a train because they come pretty much every 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
So that's convenient. The only thing is that there's a lot of people riding the trains, right? And so sometimes, especially for the morning commute, evening commute, you'll be on a train and there'll just be so many people riding those trains. So that was one issue for when I was living on the Chuo line, which is where Kokubuji is. That's one of the more crowded train lines in Japan. It's a little bit famous for being crowded, so I got to have that experience very early on.
Wait a second, they actually push you?
I think on some stations they might, yeah. Once you get closer to the city, it starts out in the suburbs and gets closer to the downtown area, and those last few stops before you get off are they're a little bit tight, yeah.
Oh.
Definitely making some friends or
Wow.
enemies, whichever goes.
Because I remember
Whatever
those
people's attitudes
videos,
are.
people with like pushing, like
Yeah.
wait a second, they are people, they know how to do this.
Right.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah, there's even like a technique. So if you're trying to be the last person to get on the train, you can put your hand on the top and kind of push yourself into the train as well. So you can do your own self-pushing technique.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's quite common.
That's good to know.
Yep.
So in that place, how was the learning of the language? Because one thing is when you were in USA,
Sure.
and the other thing is when you were in Japan. Is the environment helping?
Yeah, I think learning a language is definitely, it's much easier to do when you're in a country that speaks it, right? In the US, I was very motivated to study, and so, I made a lot of progress, but most of my studies were from textbooks, right? So immediately it's like a little bit less natural, the Japanese that you would learn from a textbook, or I think that's the case in most languages. If you were studying from a textbook or from the real world, the way you use the language can be quite different, right? And languages change over time. Every 5 years or so, you'll see new sort of slang come up. You'll see different ways of expressing ideas that are more popular, right? A lot of textbooks don't capture that. So I think it was really nice to be in Japan for that reason, as well as sometimes when you're studying a language like Japanese, it's about a 5-year commitment, I think, for most people. Sometimes you get tired and you want to take a break. Which is understandable, but if you're living in that country, even when you're taking a break, you still need to use the language to get around and to eat food and all that stuff. So, I think that was also helpful. Is that you just need it to get by every day. So it's kind of use it.
That's true.
Use it or don't eat.
Oh yeah, that's important. And something that we learned from you, because here in the FY Center, we literally are crossing the street to the Park Q.
Yep.
And we found many Japanese chains.
Yeah?
One of those was Sequoia.
I'll say, yeah, so there's a Gyukaku, I think, and then Yoshinoya or Tsukiya, probably both, maybe I think we've seen both. It's like rice bowls that are pretty popular in Japan, so very affordable. It's kind of like Japanese fast food.
Wait a second, is that fast food?
Yeah, it's fast food. By Japan standards, I would say that it's Japanese fast food. Made to order, but the price point, right? When you're in Japan, probably similar or cheaper than McDonald's. But
yeah, I began to feel that thing because when I go to McDonald's, it's a little pricey. But here it's even more affordable than the local food.
Oh, yeah. It's affordable and delicious, so I'd recommend.
Delicious, affordable, has some nutrients, some protein, and pretty convenient, which is something that you really look for, as long as you know how to do the chopsticks.
Yeah. That's definitely a learning curve, but how are you getting along with chopsticks these days?
So for me, it was kind of easy, but there was a motivation. The incentive was when I was doing my master's in petroleum with Texas A&M. My commander, Christine Economy, they gave us like an incentive program. Like Friday was Fish Friday.
Okay.
But she will pay as long as everybody uses the chopsticks.
Nice.
So the only way to actually get better is, okay, every Friday you use the chopsticks. And you have to learn how to deal with the Fish Friday incentives. So for doing that, I realized, I can do that.
Okay.
And once the program finished, I was able to exercise that little skill like every once in a while. So when I see this, it's like, look at that, I can do this.
There you go. That's a good story.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And talking about the stories, you started learning the language and then you got a degree. You got the opportunity to also exercise your profession there.
Yeah.
So, how was that?
I would say it was a pretty unique experience. I think a lot of people, when they go to Japan, they're become English teachers, and I did that for a little bit while I was in college. But my first job was in sales in Japan, and it was selling nail guns and different hardware tools to Japanese construction workers. So that was in Osaka. That was that 1 year that I spent in Osaka, and it was a pretty great time. I got to learn a lot of Japanese, got to learn a lot about the culture. So I think it was a very rare opportunity. I'm not sure a lot of people get the opportunity to do sales in Japan to Japanese people. So that was a unique experience, and it really pushed me to develop a lot as a business person and as a person in general. So.
Oh yeah, Osaka. How far is that from Tokyo?
Osaka is you can get on the bullet train, and it takes like about 2 hours, maybe more or less, depending on which train you ride.
So you take a bullet train that sounds quick.
Yeah.
You say it's 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a little far.
Yeah, it's a little bit far. You have to pass through Nagoya on the way down. Yeah, you're traveling a fair bit of distance, I think. So, yeah.
Wow. I believe the prices there are, I would say, a little more affordable than the main city, the capital, right? Or they are trade-offs?
I would say Osaka prices are pretty close, maybe a little cheaper, especially maybe for rent. But I think probably the best thing is that there's like less people.
Okay.
So like the trains are actually comfortable to ride during most times.
Okay.
So that's much easier, right? I think that was probably one of the big differences.
Yeah, especially like more space in the trains is a better commuting.
Yeah.
I totally agree on that. I also saw here in the MRT of Bangkok or the MRTs of Singapore or Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, you really don't want to be like one to each other. Like all of a sudden the AC, there is no AC.
Right.
Yeah, you know.
I think did you go? You went to Dubai with us too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was great. And did you ride the trains there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were probably a little more crowded. Maybe not as crowded as Tokyo, but I'd say they were more crowded than Bangkok.
I need to share the story that happened in Dubai because I was waiting to go to the station which is closer to the Museum of the Future, and then I saw the train finally land, and I was like, okay, it's time to enter. Then I realized that it was a different vibe because I only saw pretty nice women around until I began to my realization, wait a second, you remember in Kuala Lumpur there are only sections for women only? You are in that place, Fabian. And then I realized, oh, I did a mistake. So actually, lucky for me, I only had to walk like one of those sections just to be on the normal side.
Yeah.
But yes, I saw that thing.
Yeah, I think for the you mean on the train, the carriage, the women's only carriages. Yeah, I think I didn't have that same experience, but when we were getting on the train, some of the girls in our group were trying to get us to come with them, and we were like, no, we can't get on that that carriage, right? But yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it's a very crowded train line, so it makes sense from a public safety standpoint. But.
That's true. Now, during your time right there in Osaka and then Tokyo, you did sales, but people who know you recently, they know that you are also good in analytics.
Yeah.
So when the affair of analytics started?
Yeah, I think analytics has been slowly building. I started in sales, in Osaka, and then eventually I got into sort of industrial sales in Tokyo, and then more international, like sales and marketing. I started working on different strategies, and then also trying to forecast, when our products will arrive overseas and how many products we need. So really once I got into the international business department, there was a lot more opportunity to do different types of analysis, and one of the ones that I spent a lot of time on was demand forecasting. So I was managing the production for our office products division for Europe and North America. So I would have to plan in advance how many products we had to send to those warehouses, and that the difficulty of that is we're a manufacturer, so we had to plan how long it took to put the products together. Then we had to plan how long it was going to take to ship there. So we had what was called a time fence. So we had about a 3-month time fence where you've got to sort of have all the orders placed and being made 3 months in advance, right? So you've got to be able to plan that far in advance for demand forecasting. And then it was also quite a big challenge because we had factories all over the world. We have 11 factories in 4 countries, I think. So just planning, what to make where and then when to ship it. It was quite a bit of planning. Obviously, I had help as well. But on the sales side, we basically had to manage a lot of the forecasting for that. Because a lot of those systems rely on, our opinion of how much things are going to sell, what sort of promotions we're running, those sorts of activities, right? So, yeah.
What kind of software you were using, or what kind of language you were more familiar during those early days?
Yeah, in the early days, I didn't know very much. I got interested in that whole sort of analysis and did some online courses. First with Harvard Business School online, and then with MITx, which is MIT's online, learning platform. So I did Harvard Core, and then I also did MITx. And through MITx, I learned quite a bit about demand forecasting from a more mathematical standpoint. The software that we were using at our company was entirely bespoke. It was made by a guy who works at our company. It was made about 30 years ago.
Okay.
It was not the most user-friendly interface. It's as an older manufacturer. There's a lot of legacy systems like that, and a lot of them aren't connected to each other. So we'd have the forecasting system, and then the production system would be a different system, and these are problems that everyone has, I think. But that was basically what we were using. In the beginning, a lot of people sort of mistrusted that system because there's been like a lot of sort of failures, I think, as far as delivering on time and being able to have the right amount of inventory of different products overseas, and lots of like rush deliveries, right? So people weren't very trusting of the system to start with. So that was one challenge that we had to face. And if anything went wrong with the system, I did eventually find the guy who made the system in our company.
So he was still alive?
He's still alive, still working at the company, but he also wasn't entirely sure, because it was a long time ago that he made it. Whenever there was a glitch, he wasn't entirely sure how to fix it, right? So there was a lot going on there, but ultimately it still kind of worked. One thing that I did was talk with people from the overseas branches, because they also had sort of their own systems as well. So we sort of organized another sort of Excel spreadsheet that is sort of a backup planning sort of mechanism. So in the beginning, I didn't really know too much about it, but towards the end, I was making spreadsheets that could do demand forecasting for about 500 SKUs, and all you had to do was sort of update the monthly sales figures, and then it would take like a couple equations that we made, and it looks at the last 12 months and runs through, and then gives you warnings about how much you need to buy, or if you're sort of over ordering, or that sort of thing. So. It was fun to have that experience. I wasn't really a quant person before that, but I started to see like the value of it. So as I got into the MBA, that was one skill that I wanted to develop a lot more while I was here. And I think I made a fair bit of progress on that. So,
That's such a very humbling experience that everybody is learning, and it's like, everybody can do this and get so much dividends from this. It was fascinating also to know that the guy who did that thing was so humble to say, I don't know how to fix it.
I think, some of those systems, they near the end of their lifetime, and I think they're actually looking at updating it relatively soon. It was definitely a bit interesting to know that system that one of the departments was relying pretty heavily on was, in a lot of ways in a precarious position. I think it was interesting, but it was also fun to talk with him. And after I did a lot of learning about demand forecasting through the MITx MicroMasters, I learned a lot of different equations, right? So there's different techniques you can do, like exponential smoothing, or there's, I think, Croston's model for intermittent demand. You can do things to capture the trend or the seasonality of different products a lot better. So I got to learn a lot of different equations to handle that. And when I went back into our old software, I could see that they were running the equations, but some of them weren't being used in the right time for the right products, right? And so they were maybe being applied incorrectly, and that was leading to some weird numbers being forecasted by our system, right? So yeah, it was just interesting. You start with one small problem that you try and fix, and you learn more and more about it. It just goes deeper and deeper, right? So that's kind of what happened. I wasn't really planning on getting as interested in data analytics as I did, but I am now.
So that's a rabbit hole, and right now you are really close to that rabbit.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Reaching out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Before your time in Japan, USA happens to be a very big country.
Yeah.
But few people know that you are from Breckenridge. Am I right?
Yes, I am.
So tell us about Breckenridge.
Yeah, Breckenridge is an amazing place. I really had fun going there for high school. So Breckenridge is a ski resort in Colorado. It's a fairly big ski resort. It's about an hour and 20 minutes away from Denver by car. So we get a lot of people on the weekends who come up from Denver to enjoy the weekend skiing. But generally during the week, it's about 2,000 people in the town. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic where there's a lot of really cool amenities, lots of cool stuff to do, and not that many people for most of the time, and then sometimes just a crazy amount of people, right? So it was a bit of an interesting place to grow up, but I definitely enjoyed my time there. And when I went to high school there, so it was the Summit County High School. So all the towns in the area were kind of in a similar position as far as being sort of resort towns and smaller, right? So everyone ended up going to the same high school from the entire county. So we'd all meet. It was only about 15 minutes from my house though, but we would all meet at that high school. So yeah, it was a good place.
So in a ski resort, which is different from a beach resort,
yeah.
You have snow.
Yep.
What do you do in a ski resort? Because I know people, they do skiing or snowboarding, but what else you can find there?
I did a lot of skiing. I was on the freestyle ski team, which is basically mogul skiing and jumping. So that was fun. I was a little bit adventurous, I'd say. Some nice knee injuries, I guess, to prove it, but nothing too serious. And I think other things that people do is tubing, so kind of sledding, right?
Okay.
That's a popular sport, as well as backpacking and snowshoeing, right?
Oh.
Is also pretty popular.
That sounds cool.
So our family used to do snowshoeing trips every year for Thanksgiving. So there's a hut outside Breckenridge called Francie's Cabin. And so we would all put on snowshoes and go up to the cabin and have a bunch of chicken, turkey, I guess.
Oh.
Turkey, mashed potatoes, all that. Bring the whole feast up to the cabin. It was good.
Nice.
Yeah, you get some nice exercise in, and then you're very hungry, and you have Thanksgiving dinner.
Francis Cabin sounds like a very nice place to have Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
By the way, we are recording very few days away from Thanksgiving. So right there, I remember that usually there is a big debate between which are the best things to bring to the table.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to bring the turkey, but there can be only one turkey. Usually the sides are the ones that get the most fight.
Right.
Which is the side that you prefer back then?
Yeah, I think of course you gotta have mashed potatoes, right?
Yes, that's a given.
That's a given, right? And then there's this hot cross bun, very good sort of flaky, buttery bun that was made by a grocery store that was pretty close to our house, and that was the thing. They only sold it during that season.
Oh, really?
And so basically we always bought like a bunch of them, and yeah, they were popular every year. Just eat like, I don't know, half my body weight.
That's right. What about the cranberry sauce?
Yeah, cranberry sauce, of course. Yeah, yeah. But you spent a lot of time in the U.S. too. What
Absolutely.
did you like for Thanksgiving while you were there?
So the Thanksgiving was usually a given, and I knew that a lot of people will try to fight with the cranberry sauce. So usually I was trying to win the dessert game, which is are we going to bring a pecan pie or the pumpkin pie? So usually I was bringing pecan pie. As well, with the pecan pie, I brought the Cool Whip. Because there will be someone who will say, yeah, give me the Cool Whip. And there is no Cool Whip.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm like, no, you bring the Cool Whip. And this
Thinking ahead. Yeah.
thinking ahead of that. And when there was meetings with some other friends as well, the competition will be to bring the seasonal IPA, but because it was kind of chilly, sometimes we prefer to go either with a bottle of single malt, or if we cannot get them back then, well, you just secure the best stout of the season, but that's it.
Yeah.
Usually try to get a good pumpkin pie or pecan pie.
Yep.
And if you cannot get those two, okay, you can compromise with a cranberry pie.
Yeah.
Because there will be always somebody who say there is not enough cranberry sauce. Okay, give them the pie.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Good thinking.
trying to do the barbecue. If you cannot do the barbecue like a week ahead,
Yeah.
try to settle or sign like one of those places that you can get one pizza shop to do it for you.
Yeah.
Like try to pay 1 month in advance.
Yeah.
Because everything is stuff. The traffic is too much.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
on Wednesday, everybody leaves work, and it's
Yeah.
like
It's a madhouse.
you need to get your turkey or your pork or whatever
Yeah.
you want, like ready, like 1 day ahead.
Yeah, a little bit of advanced planning goes a long way for Thanksgiving.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. And but
So then I have a question.
go ahead.
So Thanksgiving, you got all this food. It's amazing. You eat. Everyone goes to sleep. The next day, usually there's still a lot of food left over. What do
Oh,
you do
yeah.
with that?
So there is a trick.
Okay.
You can do it as a leftover, but there is so much leftover you can do.
Right.
So the other ones is to do an analogy of the Canadian Boxing Day,
Okay.
which is okay. There are some stuff that was not used. You can go towards your local food house,
Sure.
where they usually do preserve those things to give to the people. Do that, and that helps a lot. Or you can also do some leftover with other friends, and also go towards the weekend.
Right.
So that's how you can use the calories that you want to share with. But the ones that you consume, you can burn in advance as well.
Right.
So there is something called the turkey trot.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, you do a 5K or a 10K the morning of Thanksgiving, and then
Yep.
you are conscious free.
There you go. There you go. That's smart thinking. And I think a lot of people in our group have also, our cohort here at Asia School of Business, have gotten into exercising. And I think you may be one of the more excited about it. Especially recently, I think there was a big accomplishment. I don't know if you shared it with all of his viewers yet.
Oh
but,
yeah, maybe
what
you
happened?
maybe you can see
What
it right
happened?
here on that highlight. So
Yeah.
what happened is that I happened to do the 42-kilometer Kuala Lumpur Marathon. Yes, thank you very much. So that was the number 4 of my lifetime. I did the previous 3 in Houston. Those was cold weather, kind of flat. All right, but for here they told me it's gonna be a little sinusoidal, and I have to train in the Chancatoico Hill.
Okay.
10 kilometers back and forth every other day just to be ready. And still, I felt it was challenging because at moments, it was not the back and forth, going up and down, but also the humidity that begins to came up around 7, 8 o'clock. Then there was like a small injury I got on my right hip that literally compromised my speed. And then everybody was like texting, "Where are you, Fabian?" And I couldn't answer.
Yeah.
I couldn't answer.
Yeah.
I guess someone called me like, "Where are you, Fabian?" I couldn't answer.
Yeah.
I had to finish. I had to claim the T-shirt, the medal, and then go back walking that
Yeah.
little hill to go back.
To the dorm room. Yeah.
It was too tough,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's already gone.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was one of those people texting him because coincidentally that marathon was the same morning of our trip here to Bangkok. So we were all getting ready to go in the cab to the airport, trying to find FVR, and I think I was one of the last people to leave, but I saw him about 5 minutes before our car got there, walking up that hill, looking like he won, but also looking like he was really tired. And then we had that full day of travel to Bangkok, right? So yeah, I would say some very good display of resilience. Also miraculous that we were able to get to the plane on time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we made it. We're here, and I think we're having a good time.
And thanks to Shivangi and Kevin, who were also there because they wanted to find a taxi, and it was like, oh, look at that, we have more space back. You want to join us? And that's how we came to the airport on time, which is like a crazy day. Which was a week ago, actually.
Yeah,
it was a week ago.
Yeah. I was very surprised though. It was great that we were able to get there.
Yeah, that was true. That was totally true. Talking about the sports,
Sure.
we have been also practicing football.
Yeah.
So during your time in Breckenridge, was that time that your love for football started, or where did it start?
Oh yeah, I always played. We call it soccer in the U.S., but you know, it's the world's game. Call it whatever you want. It's the world's game, right?
Well, you can talk with the euros and say, hey, we call it soccer now
Yeah.
because the euro right now is like below $1.
Yeah, I guess if that's how we want to evaluate, we can do that for sure. But yeah, I think I kind of always did it as a young kid. Even I did it all the way up until my first year of high school. Then I stopped doing soccer and did skiing most of my time, and then senior year of high school I also decided to do soccer again, and then I've just kind of been doing it on and off ever since then. Whenever there's like a drop-in league that I can play in or be a part of, I usually do that. So that's been one of the fun things is we've got our futsal team at ASB, so I've been getting to go pretty much every week, right? And play some futsal, score some goals, hopefully.
So your position usually is not like a power forward, but one of the wingers. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So where the inspiration came from you to say, I like this position, and
Yeah.
not going in like in the midfield or the center back. I
Yeah.
want to be there.
Yeah.
Which was the player that you were looking at when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, I always liked Pele growing up, right? You know, he was very famous. I think in the U.S., when I was growing up, it was hard to even watch soccer games. A lot of them weren't televised, and if they were televised, you had to do like pay-per-view, and it was a pretty big hassle to see it. So we would watch like old VHS. Maybe I'm aging myself a little bit, but old VHS tapes of like famous games, right? And a lot of the good ones from Brazil. They have a fun style when they play. So yeah, I used to like Pele, and then you know, growing up, also Ronaldo was very big, Beckham, right? But yeah, I think as far as like scoring goes and soccer goes, I would say basically I started out in defense actually. So I used to play stopper, which is sort of like right at the top of a defense in 11v11. And then after that, I sort of got into midfield sort of more towards my high school days. I think a lot of that came from my old coach, Ivan Jackson, if you're watching this. He helped me develop both feet, right? So he was always saying you're only as good as your weakest foot, so you had to learn how to play with your left foot and your right foot if you are on his team, which was tough at the time, but you know, as I developed as a player, I started to be able to really play lots of positions around the field, and you know, left midfield is one of those positions that is a little bit tough, I think. Usually you'll have to use your left to do some crosses, and you know, there's usually like one left-footed guy on the team, but sometimes there's not, and it's always good to have someone who can do that position. So after playing in defense for a long time, I got more involved in left midfield and then also defensive midfields. Mostly, I liked defense. I liked going like head to head with someone and trying to stop them or trying to read the plays and get to the ball before other people know where it's going to go. But I also wanted to score some goals, so I moved up to midfield. Yeah.
That's true. Everybody wants to score a goal, and the problem is there is always someone between the goal. You happens to be the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So I happened to be a goalkeeper for a long time. I was growing up watching Jose Luis Chilavert playing in the Argentinian league. He was a goalkeeper from Paraguay.
Okay.
And the feature that he had was not only being a good goalkeeper stopping the goals, but also scoring. Because he got the opportunity to do the free kick or also do the penalties. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. I can be a situational player that can actually create an impact. And that allowed me to have those skills that helped many times. It was a good time, fun time. Even I remember trying to score on a free kick, and people were a little alarmed because, wait a second, if he misses a free kick, the ball is gonna bounce. Where is our backup?
Yeah.
Where is our backup? There is nobody right there. Usually, it's like you cannot hit it across the barrier. Okay, just try to get the bounce of there, so anybody can take it of your team the opportunity to score.
Sure.
It was fun, I have to say. Even when I was right there doing the undergrad, I got the opportunity to even be in some semi-professional leagues. We got championships, back and forth, saving penalties, all the drama and everything.
Sure.
But that's long time ago.
So was marathon just a way to try and get onto Team USA, or?
So-
it looks like you might be partway there.
So what happened with the jersey? And the jersey looks a little different.
Yeah.
The time of the recording right now is like kind of the World Cup
Yeah.
happening. But this is kind of a special jersey because back in 2014, around 2014, 2015, the Houston Dynamo signed a famous player.
Yep.
Her name, Carly Lloyd.
Yep.
And she happens to be like one of those people living around the place I was living.
Sure.
So I remember watching her back in 2008 when she got the gold medal, and then in 2011 for the World Cup that she missed a penalty against Japan. And it was like, it's time to cut her out. And it's like, hey, give her a chance. For the Olympics of 2012, she scored the 2 goals in the final. And then we got the opportunity to meet her, and it was like, we support you all the way, Carly, go all the way. And of course, the Dynamo Houston Dash was kind of a very small team, usually at the bottom of the table. But it was kind of a favorite player. So when the 2015 World Cup happened, USA still had the 2 stars. It was a big debate. Will Carly Lloyd make the roster? And how much impact will she bring to the team? She was actually so impactful. She got the golden ball and also scored 3 goals in the final. And it was like, well, next time I got a chance, I need her jersey.
Yeah.
And we got some pictures, some signatures, things like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, by 2019 it was she was like on the latest stage of her career. She was right now, well, she was back then like a more of a sub-in, but everybody knew the impact that she brings to the team.
Yep.
So in a way to honor her, and also, okay, I'm wearing her jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have the 4 stars because, hey, it cost some money to get that one. But at least the one that remembered that particular capsule
Yeah.
and all the parades that came after, that explains why I'm using the jersey. And also that explains also kind of the vibe that is going on, because after 4 years and a little more, the big competition of Earth returns.
Yeah.
And there are expectations. There are usually expectations. So what expectations do you have for this FIFA World Cup?
Yeah, I think you might be more into it than I am, but I'm looking at, I think our upcoming game is with Wales on just 2 days, right? On the 22nd, is it? Or a different day, but I know it's with Wales. I think the U.S. will hopefully do well enough to get to like round of 16, maybe a little better, but we'll see. I think every year we're always hoping for a breakthrough year for them. they've gotten to the point where they're pretty respectable on the world stage, on the men's side, and then on the women's side they're just incredibly dominant. So yeah, I think hopefully this would be a breakthrough year for the U.S., but we'll see. What are your predictions for the?
So for the USA team, 2002 is right now 20 years away from the famous 2-0 against Mexico, and we saw like a trend of performance that has been consistent with the roster of players. Do not consider that not getting out of the group stage would be a failure, because returning to the World Cup is still a merit, very meritorious. The game against Wales, that's the one that defines who's going to be actually going with England. Now, if you can be the top seed, if you can get a tie against England, like in 2010, then you are top seed, most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely. Because you will put all the pressure between England and Wales to see who is going to match that performance.
Yeah.
Now, for teams, in particular, I'm watching Argentina, and not because of Leo Messi, but because of the roster. That it was controversial, the call by Scaloni, because the coach decided we are gonna keep all the people that was during the process, but only those the ones who are fit with no injuries, no lagging injuries. Those are the ones who will make the final cut. And he had to cut 2 people who were in the process that showed lagging injuries. It was polemic, but for them in Argentina was a lesson that they got it in a hard way back in 2002. In 2002 they called forwards like Canilla or Batistuta, who were in the lagging injuries, and they couldn't perform. Then you saw a difference between the team who did the qualifiers and the team who played the group stage. 2 different performances. So that kind of thing is something that as a coach has to do the decisions. France right now has 5 players down. Between those, Kanté, Pogba, and the power forward Benzema. So it's a big question how they're gonna overcome this lack of quality, or maybe to substitute with better quality. We don't know. Now, Brazil usually has a good roster. The expectations, I guess, play against them. Because people always expect them to make it to the final or the semi-final.
Yeah.
And to fall in the quarterfinals can feel like a failure for Brazil. But not many people can actually make it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, exactly. Quarterfinals is big, you know. It's big news for any team.
Oh yes. How big is quarterfinals? Because in the World Cup, once Game 5 happens, if you pass Game 5, you get warranty semi-finals and bronze medal or the World Cup game. If you don't pass the quarterfinals, it's like 5 games and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's why so much pressure, so much money involved. Now, for other teams like Ecuador, we need to see how they're gonna perform right now with the opening game against Qatar. There has been allegations that 8 players sold out because of the organization. It's on the field. You'll see on the field if they can perform as a team.
Sure.
Because the moment you see there is a prima donna in a team, then you have then you have Portugal.
Yeah.
And that's something that's going on with Portugal.
Yeah.
There are internal locker room fights because what is going on? People who is not performing even as a starter and they are like on the bench want to be on the starting 11, adding more pressure to the coach. This is like a job. You really don't want to bring pressure to your manager. You want to relieve the pressure from the manager. That's how you know you are a starter.
Yeah.
The same here, it happens. And we don't know how far Portugal can do it. Some other people were saying that their opportunity was in 2018.
Sure.
For Africa, we know that Senegal got a huge blow because Sadio Mane finally was confirmed he cannot make it on the active roster.
Right.
And Cameroon has some core sparks that can, some analysts say, can go all the way. So we need to see first how many can actually go towards the next round, and then how are the performances, especially in situational moments. People say that England can be powerful because they know how to play on situational scenarios like the free kick, corner kicks.
Right, the set plays, yeah.
We don't know if they can replicate that again.
Right?
But that's something that people can take account. The dark horse has been usually Belgium, but we don't know how much of a dark horse is anymore.
Right.
And the only thing that really concerns me is, from the fan point of view, is the timing.
Sure.
The timing is like, according to this place, it's like around 11 at night. Other people in Latin America, they have to watch it like 11 or 2 p.m. when the games are usually like at 6 or 7 p.m.
Right.
We need to see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think we might be having a viewing party here at the hotel.
Oh yeah, that would be fantastic. That would be fantastic. Or people right now start asking like, which is the best streaming to do it, which is the best free stream. It's like, it's not about the free streaming.
Yeah.
It's about the wall or the VPN or all the other features that you can get.
Sure.
So those are the things that happens. Talking about the things that happens almost spontaneously, I would like to ask you about Mersing.
Yeah.
So what is Mersing about?
Yeah, so Mersing, thank you. Yeah, Mersing is a startup idea that I had after our practicum in Batu. So we went to the island there and cleaned up quite a bit of trash. I think about 2,000 tons, or 2,000. Yeah, 2,000 tons. 2,000 kilograms, 2 tons. So we cleaned up all of this trash from the beach there, and on that beach there's endangered turtle nests. It's pretty important to get that trash off the island. But you know, part of the problem is that it's also expensive to do it, and you know, about 30 tons washes up onto that beach every year. So you know, there's a lot of effort that it takes to keep it clean and to protect the wildlife. So I wanted to start a company that would maybe get involved with that. So the company's name is Mersing Waste to Wealth, and we're taking on this challenge of marine waste. So we're doing basically 2 things. One of them is making products, fully recycled products out of marine waste. And then the other one is a supply chain tracking and tracing sort of service and app. So we're excited about potentially rolling that out. That idea came about because we actually were fortunate enough to get accepted to Ignition Chamber Academy, which was a sort of startup academy here at our school. And so they helped us workshop the ideas and try and figure out ways to make this into more of an innovative, tech-driven approach to the same problem.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited about the direction, and we'll see how it develops. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember when you were doing that pitching and you have like some socks.
Yep.
Those were looking very fine.
Yeah, thank you.
I wish I can get some of those socks eventually.
Yep, yeah. I think they're going to be coming out sometime this year. So yeah, keep your eyes open. I'll make sure to let you know as well.
Oh yeah, because for some reason it's really hard to find those colorful socks every once in a while. And when you see that particular design, it's like, I need one of those. I really need those.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, so people can maybe ask, where did you get those? And it's like, Mersing.
Yep. Thank you. I'll let our designer know too. She's works at Itoken, which is one of the design houses in Japan, and she's got excited about this product. So she's from Sweden. So it's pretty interesting. Right now we have a team of 4 founders, plus myself. So I guess 5 in total. So it's me, someone from South Africa, someone from India, someone from Sweden, someone from China. So we've got a pretty diverse international founding team. So it should be exciting to see how we can tackle this problem that's really a problem for the world, right?
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about the war and talking about the region that just been recently, and I need to ask you, which are the little details between Japan, Malaysia, and Thailand that you find out? Because there can be like people from outside, they may assume everything is the same, but it's not the same.
Yeah. I mean, they're all very different countries. I think if you get the opportunity to travel around Asia, Southeast Asia, you'll realize that you know, the culture here is vastly different from country to country. The value systems are different. The languages often also are different, right? I think, in a lot of ways, Thailand and Japan are kind of similar. You can tell there's a lot of Japanese influence here. There's a plaque outside one of their mass transit stations that was a dedication from Japan to Thailand. And then there's also like a lot of Japanese shops and businesses around Bangkok, right? So that is one thing that's interesting. I think Malaysia is also got its own culture and interesting in its own way, right? It's a majority Muslim country, but then they've also got a large Indian and Chinese population. So it's interesting to see Malaysia's approach to diversity and to trying to make an inclusive society for three populations that have different cultural backgrounds, right? So they do have a bit of a melting pot there in Malaysia, which reminds me like a little bit more of America in some ways. And yeah, I think every country is different. I think in general, just don't be afraid to go try something new and talk to new people. I think you'll be surprised about not only how different things can be, but also how similar things can be. So yeah.
That's true, and I want to add some color. I would say some spice, because
Some secret sauce.
yeah, in Malaysia, for some reason the food is spicy,
Yeah.
but here it's not.
It's not spicy.
Yeah.
Thailand. I think it depends. It depends. I think Thailand. Some of the curries can be a little spicy, right? But yeah, I think Malaysia is maybe a little more spicy. They love chili sauce.
Yeah.
Malaysians love to put chili sauce on a lot of different things, which is good. I know I've actually gotten into the whole chili sauce bandwagon, so I've been putting it on, French fries, chicken, like all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I think they do like spicy food in Malaysia, that's for sure.
Yeah, and here I happen to find more chances to get mayonnaise
Yeah.
than in Malaysia itself, because it's like
Ah.
here ketchup, chili, and then that's it. And I
Yeah.
remember when I asked for mustard, they were like
Chili sauce.
chili sauce. But here you can find those options.
Yeah.
Also, a little grain of salt, because the comparison can be unfair given that Malaysia has this approach. But
Yeah.
here, the beer is relatively affordable,
Sure.
given the constraints or given the flexibilities. But most important, because we realize that Chang happens to be like a monopoly. Like you see Chang almost everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of Chang. Lots of Chang beer.
Uh-huh. And even they sell water. But at the same time, it's like with so many liberties, it's like how can you manage yourself? You need to know yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can get lost.
Right. Right.
And that happens usually around the Sukhumvit area.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of liberties in Thailand. I think, just know yourself and know your limits. I wouldn't push it. Alcohol is cheap, and just don't go too crazy.
Yeah,
Stay
that's
safe.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And just know yourself and try to know your limits. There is no need to go all in, because there is always another day. There's
Yes.
always another day.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe there can be a little advice also for some people that wants to explore these places and to see, like the movie. Hey, you're living your own movie, so
Yeah.
take it easy, because you only have one life.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about things that people may be watching, there would be some young addicts right there in the internet watching this. So the question for you
Yeah.
is, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I think I would be careful about having limiting beliefs on yourself, right? I think a lot of times people think that maybe something is too hard or too difficult, and so they don't try, and then they never get to do it, right? So I'm happy that I decided to come for my MBA when I did, and I think at the time there was a lot of pushback. It wasn't the easiest stage in life to go for an MBA, but just not giving up and just giving it a try and see if something is a fit for you. I think that's important. So
That's a beautiful message. I cannot find a better way to close this episode. How people can find you?
Oh yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. I've got a pretty big following there, so I think that's probably the best way. Eric Haywood is my name, so you can find me on LinkedIn. If you look up Mersing WTW, it's also on LinkedIn as well. So
Yeah, so any product that you buy on Mersing are saving turtles, right?
you're saving turtles, exactly.
Thank you, Eric, for doing this.
Thank you so much, FVR.
And for people out there, please stay safe and see you when I see you. Bye.
Bye.